This is an NBC News special report.
Welcome back to NBC News. I'm Erin Burnett, and I'm joined with
Diane Sawyer
and
Katie Keurig. Our top story today. In 2018, 50.3% of our voter-eligible population voted, only 50%. This issue expands through many groups of people, one of which being young women ages 18 to 21 in our country.
There's no rhyme or reason why these young women are not voting, but some of the excuses brought to our attention have been analyzed by the experts at LDC Advertisements.
These issues range from a lack of confidence in their own knowledge of the candidates to feeling that they already do enough, to having other issues on their mind. Today, in a special segment presented by LDC Advertisements, we will have our experts break down why young women aren't getting out to the polls.
Our first expert, Lily Griffin, explains why young women might feel they do enough already. Marches, protests, and movements have given Americans an outlet to express their opinions, but is that doing enough? Here is Lily with more on the issue.
Hi, my name is Lily Griffin. Thank you so much for having me today. Here at LDC Advertisements, we are focusing on increasing voting among young women ages 18 to 26. These young women might be in high school, they might be in college, or they might be in the workforce, but one thing that we have seen very common is many of them are involved in movements. One of the most strong movements we have seen is the Women's March on January 21st, 2017. There was an estimated 3.6 to 4.6 million people who showed up to support the Women's March, 85% of which were women. So clearly they're out there, they're voicing their opinions, but are they voting? One thing that we have seen is they may be believing that they're doing enough by participating in these marches and protests and strikes, when in reality their voices are being lost when they don't make it out to the polls. So what these young women should be doing is bringing attention to their cause, but also voting with their opinions. So voting in politicians that they see will correctly show their voice, or voting out those politicians who they feel aren't doing the best for their country. Back to you.
Next, Dahlia Wood will explain why some young women feel they do not deserve the right to vote. Although women gained the right to vote in 1920 when the 19th Amendment was ratified, lack of knowledge about candidates and pressing issues may be keeping young women out of the polls. We go to Dahlia for more.
Hi, I'm Dahlia Wood, here at LDC Advertisements with more on the story. Did you know that nearly 1 in 5 women say they didn't vote because they think their vote doesn't matter? 24-year-old Cassie Tolman told Refinery 29 that I feel like if I had more education on the matter, I would vote. But I don't want to vote for the wrong person or just vote for my party because I'm supposed to. Ladies, you fought for your right to vote since 1848. And when the 19th Amendment was ratified, you got what you fought for. You need to do your research and educate yourself on who's potentially going to represent you as well as lead your country. You don't need to wait for teachers or professors to tell you how to vote. Register when you're 18 and exercise your right. You have the power to decide who you want, what you want, and when you want it. As Donna Seymour said in a blog post for the 2018 Power the Vote campaign, elections are decided by the people who show up and vote. When you don't show up, someone else is making critical decisions for you. Going along for the ride means you are often being taken for one. We now turn to Cassie Galais, who tackles the last pressing issue keeping young women out of the polls. From fulfilling maternal roles, babysitting young siblings, and taking care of grandparents to working, young women may just feel they do not have the time to make it to the polls. We turn to Cassie for more on this.
Thank you. Yes, studies have shown that about 70% of caretakers are women, and many of them are young who work every day of the week. Although this job is very demanding and seems like it takes up all of your time, getting out to vote is something we encourage you to do to make a difference in your life. I'm here with Ella Smith, who has been a nanny to 4 young children for 3 years now. Thank you for joining us today. You told us that you used to never go out and vote because you have been a nanny to many families for a little over 5 years now. But for the past 2 elections, you have went out and voted. Any tips for our young female voters out there who feel like they are too busy with their responsibilities of caring for either young children, elders, or the disabled to vote?
Thanks for having me. Yes, my advice is to find a secondary caretaker to look out for the people you usually do and cast your vote. I was surprised how quickly it took me to vote. It was easy too. I felt so great about voting, like I was doing my part for the country. Every vote matters. Us females need to stick together and vote for those who will better our country. Especially being young, we need to make an effort to do our part as citizens to make our futures better for us at some point, maybe our children and grandchildren. Being a caretaker shouldn't affect your ability to vote. Find a way to get out to the polls. I guarantee you won't regret it.
Great, thank you, Ella. You heard it yourself, ladies. To all you helping others out on the daily, we commend you. But don't let it take away from the opportunity to make a change.
It is unreal how many people still think that their votes do not matter, or that there is something more important than voting.
We would like to say a big thank you to our experts over at LDC Advertisements. Hopefully this has inspired some of those young women out there to get out and vote. Even small elections can impact you in some way.
Democracy works by the people, but that means you have to show up. It's your future, so
Get out and vote!